Welcome back to Persistent Purpose with MJ Hunter. I am Coach MJ, your host. I am a serial entrepreneur, a speaker, an emerging author, an event producer, a business coach, an all-around great person. I almost didn't make it to this episode today because I was having technical difficulties and I couldn't get organized, but I persisted, right? And I made it. So today I'm going to be talking about 6 clues to finding your zone of genius. So what do we mean by zone of genius? You may have heard that phrase before. It's a relatively, well, I shouldn't say it's a new phrase. It's a relatively new phrase in my awareness, right? But it's talking about that space in your life where the things that you do seem effortless. The work you're doing, the tasks you're participating in, the activities, it is easy for you. You don't even recognize how challenging what you do is for other people because it's your zone of genius. It's that thing that you were made for, right? We talk a lot about what you were made to do and that purpose that you were called for in life. But sometimes because we're so close to it and because it's what we're used to, it can be hard. You know, the phrase is, the saying is, you can't see the forest for the trees. You're so close to it, you can't see that your zone of genius is staring you right in the face. And there's value to it. There's value to it in the marketplace. There's value to it in your personal ecosphere, right? Because when you are doing work and participating in activities that aren't in your zone of genius. And of course, we all have to do a little bit of that in our lives. But when you spend the majority of your time doing what you feel like you have to do instead of what you want to do, it takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of emotional energy, physical energy, mental and intellectual energy. And that's not where we want to operate. We are programmed, especially in this society, this being American society, but maybe even in other societies around the world, to think that what we do for a living has to be something that's a drudgery. It has to be something that we do begrudgingly, right? I'm go out here and, make the donuts, I got to go in here and make this money. We are programmed to believe that we can't love what we do or that we can't just do the thing that we're great at. But I'm going to talk to you today about 6 clues or 6 areas of your life where you can find your zone of genius. You might already have a suspicion of what it is, but today I'm giving you permission to step into it and pursue your purpose with persistence. So I've also created an acronym for you. I like a good acronym. You know I do. So this acronym is METHOD. That's what it spells out. And each one of these clues is going to start with one of the letters of the word method. So let's go ahead and get started. The first clue of what your zone of genius could be is to be a mentor to the person that you used to be. So they're all of these are also going to have the letter P and the letter B in them. Okay. This is to help you remember, but to mentor the person that you used to be. It is often said that you are most qualified to help the person that you used to be. Someone who is currently in the position where you used to find yourself. Maybe they have a problem that you used to have and you overcame it. Or maybe they're in a stage in life. Maybe they're younger than you. Maybe they are behind where you are financially. Maybe you've overcome some things in your finances. Maybe there's a health challenge that you've overcome. Whatever it is, relationships. It doesn't even have to necessarily be something overtly negative, but it could be that you're further along on a journey that somebody else is further back on. You are most qualified to help that person and to mentor them, create a whole business around helping these people. So when I say mentor, I don't just mean going out and just mentoring a person one-on-one. I actually mean creating even a business or some type of vocational pursuit around helping the person that you used to be. This is going to fly in the face of what a lot of us are programmed to believe, but you don't have to go to school all the time to learn or to have the credential to prove that you know what you know. As long as you can create messaging that resonates with your target audience, the people who are where you used to be, they will know that you can help them and they're going to come and find you. You don't need letters behind your name. It's okay if you have them, but don't think that you have to wait until you have some other authority that says you know what you know. If you used to be that person, you can speak to that person in a way that somebody who learned something in a book or learned something through a certification can never do. Now, again, some people might come for me in the comments. That's okay. It's not saying there's anything wrong with learning it. Just know that your zone of genius does not have to be validated by anybody outside of you. You can mentor the person you used to be right now. The second one is to engineer the product that you were called to birth. There are some of you out here, and unfortunately, a lot of the people in the cemetery, they've taken their products that they could have birthed to the grave with them. But there's some of you out here who have some magnificent ideas for some solutions to some problems that we are having in the form of a product. It might even be a service, right? Something that you can provide. And a lot of times this comes out of a space where you're frustrated with what's currently available. So if you don't see what you want out in the world, a lot of times it's that you're called to create or birth that thing. So if you're like, man, it'd be nice if this let's say this garment that I have on, it'd be nice if it had sleeves that look like this, or if it came in these sizes or these materials or this pattern, or maybe it's, some kind of a business solution. Maybe it's a tool or product that you've been frustrated with not having because you need it. A lot of times it's brought to our attention that something is needed because we are the ones that are called to fill that need, not somebody else, you. So if you have an idea for a product, sure, do your due diligence, do your market research, ask around and look at it. Be careful who you ask, though. You don't want somebody running off with your idea. But the bottom line is, a lot of times that product or that service that you see a need for is because you're called to birth it. The reason it doesn't exist is because either nobody else has been called to fill that problem, or the other people that were called to engineer that product have not answered the call. But you're not going to be that kind of person. You're going to fulfill your purpose. You are going to answer the call. So engineer that product, create it, develop it. There's something out here, somebody out here that wants what you have in your head, and you need to get it out of your head and into reality as soon as possible. The next clue to finding your zone of genius is to teach the profession that you used to be in or that you are still in. So often, I'm going to go back to what I said a minute ago. We think we need certifications. We need degrees. And I'm a person that's multi-degreed. I've got certifications. I've got letters behind my name. And I still say that some of the greatest teachers, the people that are out here doing the thing, are the ones that may not have those formal credentials. It's okay if you have them, but you don't need to have them. If you have worked in a specific profession, maybe you're in real estate, maybe you're in medicine, maybe you're in law, maybe you work in some field that nobody has ever heard of before because it's so specialized and there's only 20 people in the country that can do it. Or if you're in a field, like I said, law or medicine or accounting or whatever it is, don't get me to naming them. It doesn't matter what it is. If you are in that profession, you are an expert. Everything that you know that somebody else doesn't know but wants to know, it makes you an expert. Okay. And so you can teach the profession that you used to be in or that you are currently in to other people, whether that's formally in a business setting, in a training setting, whether it's a one-on-one mentorship. Your zone of genius is going to be that area that you can talk about nonstop, that you have deep levels of understanding and knowledge about, where you don't even have to think about it. You don't have to read the books anymore. You've read them all, and now you can write the book. That's your zone of genius coming to light. Now, it could be you're in a profession that you don't necessarily want to be in, and that's okay. You can have expertise in something that you don't love. I'm specifically talking about professions that you do enjoy, that you can get in there and work for hours. Like I'm like that with graphic design. I'm like that with a few things, actually. And a lot of times I do tend to coach and train in those areas that I used to be in or are currently am in right now. And so look at that. Don't resist it. Don't think that just because your employer said you have to have A, B, and C before you can train, it doesn't mean that everybody else is going to think that. There are some professions where you have to have legally certain certifications, certain things. That's not what I'm talking about. Most people don't have that. Most people can do something, even if you're in medicine, even if you're in nursing, you can be a health coach. Like there's so many different ways that you can teach what you know professionally. And that's your zone of genius because that's the area that is effortless for you because you have mastered it over time. The next area that can be a clue to finding your zone of genius is to heal the pain that you used to bear. This is a big one. This is a big one because a lot of times when we're in painful situations, whether you experience some type of trauma, whether you were in a dysfunctional situation, whether it was a physical or medical pain, whatever that could be, once we get out of that pain, a lot of times we want to get as far away from that painful experience as possible. And that is understandable. We are not saying that you are wrong for wanting to get away from that pain, but sometimes a part of your healing and the true evidence that you are healed is that you can stand in your power, look that pain square in the face and say, I've mastered you, I've overcome you, and now I'm going back to get somebody else. Harriet Tubman, she was in a painful situation. She was an abused and misused, enslaved person in United States. When she got free, she was home free. She was gone. She came back, I believe it was over 300 times to rescue her fellow enslaved individuals. She was probably one of the most, if not the most wanted person, certainly the most wanted enslaved person in her time. She kept going back. She was most qualified. Her zone of genius was to heal the pain she used to bear. She was healing it for other people. Once she healed it for herself, once she found the way to freedom, she didn't just say, I'm going to stay up here. She created or helped to develop the Underground Railroad and brought, I don't even know how many hundreds or thousands of slaves she brought to freedom. But you can be the Harriet Tubman in your sphere and in your area of pain. Whatever the pain was that you used to bear, your zone of genius will be healing that pain. Nobody needs to tell you, nobody needs to authorize you to do that. Nobody can be more of an expert on because here's the thing. If you've lived a thing, nobody can tell you anything about it. They can tell you their version of it, but they can't tell you your experience. And that's the space you want to be in when you are looking for your zone of genius. What is that pain point that I overcame, that I was living with, that I overcame, that I can help somebody overcome step by step? And it may not even be something that's necessarily considered painful the way sometimes we use that word. I know my daughter and I, we just launched a health and wellness brand, plant-based lifestyle 101.net. Shameless plug. We've created a platform to teach and coach and motivate other people to prevent and reverse chronic conditions and diseases by adopting a plant-based lifestyle. Nobody has to tell us about it because we've lived it. I've lived it. She's lived it. We've had diagnoses that were reversed. We've had, illnesses and feeling better about ourselves, or feeling better ourselves, living this lifestyle and looking better and feeling better and all the things. So that's our zone of genius, right? We can help heal those pains, even though sometimes people have not necessarily experienced pain because, with disease or chronic illness, some people are trying to avoid that. So it's still a pain. It's a future pain. It's a pain that's coming up, and we are equipped and we are actively out here healing that pain that we used to bear when we were in the past. So that's the next area that you need to look at. What is that pain that you can help to heal? The next area that's the clue to your zone of genius is that you can organize the population that you were called to bring about. And what I mean by population, some group, some organization, some tribe. I'm thinking about my dear friend, Ian Williams, who recently founded, with the help of a team, a new organization here in our area, Indiana Black Expo, Jeffersonville chapter. That did not exist before. That's never existed in this area, but he had a vision for a way to uplift and support Black and brown people in our area. And so he organized this population because he was the one called to bring it about. We like to joke around about a couple of ladies who he talked to. Well, one person gave him the idea and another person said, yeah, you do it. He was the one called to bring it about. You know, Ian, if you're watching this episode, I'm talking about you. You know who I'm talking about. It was his calling to bring this about, and now it exists. He's operating in his zone of genius in that he was able to bring something together that did not exist before, but for which there was a great need. So there can be a group that you need to, maybe it's not a nonprofit organization in that respect. Maybe it's some other group of people that you are called to galvanize and put into action. Maybe it's your own family. Maybe it's your own family and y'all need to be operating on another level and in a better way. And it's up to you to organize them in that way. Maybe it is a business. Maybe it's a charity. Maybe it's just a group of you and your friends that you want to maybe. I love to travel. And I just thought of an example. Maybe it's you need to organize a group of your friends to travel. And maybe that's not a calling, the one trip, but maybe that turns into like you create a whole travel business around trips that you organize for your friends, or who knows, maybe it's a retreat. I don't know. You know what it is. It's already in your head and you've been pushing it down. I'm just here to give you permission to step into it. Organizing populations of people. It's not easy. Right now, I'm organizing a group of entrepreneurs. We're putting together a book, and it's challenging because as entrepreneurs, we're all busy and pulled in a million directions. So to get us all together on one project, it is a challenge, but it's one that I'm called to, and it's one that I'm up to the challenge to face. So what is that challenge? What is that group of people, that population that you can help to bring about and pull together around a common cause? And then finally, the last clue we're going to talk about, because there's more. There's more to this, right? We'll probably talk about it in future episodes. But the last clue we're going to talk about for how to find your zone of genius, or really how to accept and step into it. I should have said that instead of finding. Sometimes it's not hidden. You just fighting it. So how to accept it, stop fighting and step into it, is to develop the platform you were called to build. The platform, meaning you creating a space. It's kind of can be similar to pulling the population together, but this is a platform that you are creating. Maybe it's a platform for other people. Maybe it's a platform for some marginalized group or some unheard group. Doesn't necessarily have to be a group that's suffering in the traditional sense. I know sometimes when we hear marginalized, we think about groups of people. Maybe it's homeless people or people that are on welfare, things of that. It might not be that type of group. It might be young people. It might be people with, a certain skill set, and they need a platform to bring them higher. A few months ago, I had a conference and it was a bunch of speakers and it was an amazing time, Thrive 502. But I created a platform for my fellow coaches and speakers to get their message out to the world in a variety of different ways. I created a platform. So an event is a platform. A book is a platform. There's so many different ways. That's why I'm using kind of general terms for this, because I don't want to pigeonhole you in. But what is that platform? A business can be a platform. What is that platform that you are called to build for somebody else? Maybe it's a literal platform. Maybe it's like a platform on the web. Maybe it's a tool that people can use to make something in their business or their personal lives better. Maybe it's an app. Maybe it's a set of resources, but it's a platform that you're called to build, on which others can stand. That's the clue here. So this isn't just for you. To me, when you create a platform, if it's just for you, you don't need a whole platform to stand on. Your feet are together. You can stand on a little bitty, you can stand on the top of a bucket, or on top of something very small. Platform is big. You see a platform at church or a platform in an auditorium, it's big enough to hold a lot of people. So your platform when you need to build that platform, it needs to be something to uplift others as you uplift yourself as well. So we've talked about the 6 clues to finding your zone of genius using the METHOD acronym. I want you to take the challenge. I want you to go back through this video, take notes if you didn't already, and start to really look at all 6 areas and just take notes. Talking about mentoring the person you used to be. Describe yourself. What are some places you used to be in life that you are no longer in that place? What are some of those areas? Who are some of those people? You used to be young. You used to be in college. Let's not make it really hard. It can be really simple to identify the areas that you used to. It doesn't have to be a struggle area, just somewhere that you used to be. You used to work in a different field, whatever that was. Write some of those down. Then going on engineering the product you're called to birth. I want you to think about some of the frustrating times in your life when you're like, man, I wish there was a. Then maybe you need to create it. Because if you say that a whole lot of times about the same thing, that's a clue. Teaching the profession you used to be in. Write down some of the professions you used to work in or that you still work in, or some of the if it's not a whole profession change, maybe it's some aspect of it, something that you are good at that you used to get paid to do. What are some of those areas? Write these down. Don't just leave it in your head. Healing the pain you used to be in, that you used to suffer in your relationship, in your health, in your finances. What were some of those areas? What were some of those specific pains that you used to bear that you are no longer struggling with? Write them down. Write down the populations that you are probably called to pull together. Write those areas down. Some of the people that you sometimes, it could be, like I said, it could be an event. It could be a nonprofit organization. It could be just a group of people that you know. It could be your family that you're called to bring together on a certain cause or for a certain outcome. And then those platforms that you're called to build, how can you uplift others? How can you create something where, like the saying says, when the water rises, all ships rise? What can you create that makes the water go up so it brings up all ships? That's going to do it for me today. This has been Persistent Purpose with MJ Hunter. I'm Coach MJ. And until next time, continue to pursue your purpose with persistence. Take care.